Week 3 was all about the quarterbacks across the Lone Star State as records were broken, scoreboards were lit up, and in the final seconds, the signal callers delivered. We honor the best performances from some of Texas's top QBs while keeping a top defender or two in mind as well. It all begins right now on the Built Ford Tough Player of the Week show. Welcome you into a very special edition this week as it does feature one of the top junior quarterbacks, not just in the state, but in the entire country. His name is Preston Stone of Dallas Parish Episcopal, along head coach Daniel Novikov. First of all, thrilled to have you guys here. I know you're already kind of a big deal here. We made sure the red carpet was rolled out for you and everything, but congrats on being named our private school Built Ford Tough Player of the Week. I'm always curious to know how you learned of the honor and what your reaction was.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Well, it was actually after our morning lift on Monday. Coach Novikov gave me a call. I was just sitting in my locker, and it was really surreal to hear that I got the Player of the Week. So I was obviously really excited.
He's just Joe Cool. I mean, like handling this interview already so well. He's going to also play the modest card. You guys are off to a 2-0 start, obviously thanks to him, and a big win over Tyler Grace Community last week. How did you see him earn these honors on the field last week?
Well, I mean, every week I think he's deserving of all the recognition he gets, but the thing you notice most about him is he's one of the most humble players I've ever coached for the accolades he receives, and he's more about his teammates than anything else. And if you watch his interview after the first week on ESPN, the first thing he said was, I want to get back and celebrate with my teammates. So I think for him, winning is more important than any sort of individual award or accolade.
Yeah, can we go back to that week 1, that season opener with Trinity Christian Cedar Hall on national TV nonetheless, against Neon Dion's squad and the blue turf as well as we see her. What was that like, the big national TV stage?
Yes, man, that was ridiculous. I'd never gotten the chance to play on a stage like that before, and like I said before, that was just the best team effort I'd been a part of. Especially going into overtime. It was ridiculous. It was so much fun.
Take me back to this run here. This was the game winner, right?
Right.
This was
right.
a woo!
I'm thinking no. Yes.
What was the call there?
Yeah, so we were in 2x2 set, and he called it a double seam concept. They were in a 2 high look, so both the safeties took the seams. And we had 10-yard stops on the outside. The corners covered that really well, so I just had to step up in the pocket and make a play.
Wow, unbelievable. And your reaction, you said it was no.
Well, when I called the play, I could see the look in his eyes, like, yeah, that's a nice play call, but I'm going to run this thing. And so I could kind of see, and then I saw him take off, and I'm like, just get down, get out of bounds so we can kick a field goal. And then next thing I know, he's in the end zone, and then you're looking around, are there flags, what's going on? You really don't know what to do with yourself. I don't think I've ever been a part of a walk-off game-ending game in all my whole career, so it's kind of unreal. You don't even know how to handle it and what to do with yourself, but it was a great play, obviously.
That was unbelievable. And you ended their 24-game win streak going into the game. How big was that win for you and your team?
Well, we tried to just treat it like any other game. Obviously, that's hard to do with ESPN being there, and that was our first game of the year, so we came out a little bit shocked, flat, whatever the word you want to use. We only ran 12 plays in the first half, so we knew if we could just hang in there, we'd have a chance to win it at the end, but we tried to just treat it. Obviously they're a really good team with a big win streak, but you try just to focus on us, and the best team we can be and see what happens at the end of the game. Listen,
and I know you're team-oriented, but can we keep it real here for a sec if kids still say that? If not, I'm here to keep it alive. You received your first offer in 8th grade. I mean, you have nearly 50 now. You have so much attention surrounding you. How do you handle that?
So my freshman year was the process. Well, that was when it started, really. Coaches were coming in just about every other day during the spring. And then I think by the end of the spring, I had about 35 offers my freshman year.
Wow.
And so it was definitely a blessing for sure. And I didn't really know how to handle it at first, but I had great support from my teammates and my brothers, and obviously Coach Novikov, he's been with me every step of the way.
Yeah, your brothers have played a large part in your life, I know. So you have one at Virginia.
Yes, ma'am.
And then, of course, played at Paris. How have they helped you become the player you are?
Well, obviously, so my oldest brother, he plays quarterback at the University of Virginia. And so growing up, I definitely tried to model my game after him a lot. And he's really, helped make me into the quarterback that I am today. And then especially with Coach Novikov, he's taught me just about everything I know about the game of football. And so I really do have a lot to be grateful for.
How have you seen him handle all of this hype, Coach?
Well, and I'll tell you this about his brothers.
Coach is ready to jump in on this.
Parker is coaching with us this year, so it's really neat. Parker was a receiver last year for us as a senior, and he's gray shirt and going to SMU in January, so now he's helping us coach. So Parker's still around Preston every day, now in a different role, not telling him to throw him the ball, and now he's coaching him. So, you know, watching him with his brothers has been really neat, and then having Parker be a part of that experience is awesome. But, you know, he's handled this incredibly well. I told you before, I would not have handled it as well. I'd probably be in some ditch somewhere, you know, having quit football.
Me and you both.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, I think he's just really done a great job, you know, managing everything and staying focused on what's important.
Well, it's nice to see it. It's a family affair. That's what Texas high school
Yeah,
football is
absolutely.
about, which is really cool as well. And listen, Greg Tepper's got you guys #1 in private schools. But Coach loves it. He's already shaking his head. He needs to pick that bone with Tepper coming up. But, you know, what's that target been like this year?
Yeah, you know, that's not great for us. We'd rather him pick somebody else. We like to be hunting rather than be the hunted. But, you know, it is what it is. So we obviously are appreciative of the recognition and that people realize the amount of talented kids we have on this team. Besides Preston, there's a ton of really good players on this football team. The question is, can we put it all together, you know, and meet the expectations? And, you know, we try to get better every day, and it's a long season. And so, you know, we'll see what happens at the end.
We have a lot of folks back in the control room that are big fans of yours. They enjoy watching. They want to know who you would compare yourself to. I know obviously your brother is someone you idolize
sure.
and kind of model your game after, but who are some other quarterbacks that you watching?
Yeah, so, I mean, Kyler Murray has been my favorite quarterback ever since, you know, I was little. You know, ever since, like, 3rd grade, I was going to see him just about every Friday. So to see him in the NFL right now, you know, taking off, it's really, really cool to see.
You are a joy to watch, but I'll tell you, whenever you're done with this whole football thing, you might have a future in television if ever interested. You can come and take my job or Greg Tepper's. How about that?
I appreciate you.
Hey, listen, we appreciate you guys being with us today. Coach Novikov and Preston Stone, congrats again on being named our private school, Built for a Tough player
Thank you.
of
Thank
the
you.
week.
Thank you so much.
Built for a Tough indeed, these two are. And the fun continues here as up next, our 5A winner will join us. Fresh off hurling a game winner last week. Plus, we might also let Greg Tepper play. That's the real tease. Keep it here.
The Built for Tough Player of the Week show is brought to you by Ford. Visit your local Ford dealer. Ford is the best in Texas.
Well, if you like offense, you certainly got your fix last week when the Colony met Byron Nelson. Cougars down 3 late in the 4th until senior quarterback Mikey Harrington's arm changed that one. The Colony goes on to win 55-51 the final. When you make a play like that, chances are you're going to be named our Class 5A Built for a Tough Player of the Week. And if you're wondering who the crazy man on the sidelines was celebrating, that was head coach Rudy Rangel.
That was me.
Of those, and it was completely warranted, my friend.
Absolutely.
Along his hero, Mikey Harrington. They both agreed that we should probably let Greg Tepper play on the show at least once here this week. So welcome back, buddy.
Thanks.
But a congrats to you, Mikey, on being
Thank
named
you.
our player of the week. How did you learn you were this week's, and what was your reaction?
Coach Rangel called me last night and let me know, and I was just filled with joy. You know, I've watched the show before, and it's a complete honor.
I want to ask you a little bit about, you know, not only that game, but the last play. You know, that's the game's on the line. You know you need to make a play. Can you take us through a little bit of the play call and what you were looking for and how you were able to execute?
Me and my coaches, we watched film all week, and we knew that we had an opening over the middle, so we decided to take advantage of it on the last play.
It was awful impressive. And Coach Rangel, I want to ask you, you know, this is a guy wwho I know is integral to you guys' 3-0 start.
Right.
He's been fantastic for you. A third-year starter. How have you seen him grow as a player?
Oh yeah, he's been just a tremendous leader for us. Really taking the lead for the entire program. We got a really young football team in some areas, and Mikey's taking all those guys under his wing. And you know, I talk to guys all the time about not just being a good player for me this year, forever, and teaching those young kids how to go. So he has been really leading for us from day one this year.
Week 1, you dominated Frisco Reedy. Keep it real, if the kids still say that, Coach.
They do.
Did that surprise you a little with
Yeah.
that sort of performance, and what did that do for your team?
Yeah, you know what? They're a really good football program, and Coach Cole does a phenomenal job there. So we knew that was going to be a challenge. I was excited how we came out. You know, we didn't play well early in the first week of the season. We did some really good things, and then we got to those guys. Just want to play cleaner football, and I was excited about the way the guys showed up and played and stayed on them pretty much all night.
Mikey, there's been a bit of a transition as far as the offense is concerned. You guys used to run the ball a lot more than you do now. A lot of it's because you're at the quarterback spot. How have you transitioned into the new offense?
I'm just trusting my coaches. I feel like they're going to put the team in the best situation to win. So I'm buying all into their program, and it's being successful.
Yeah,
right now.
3-0.
I want to know what it's like playing for this guy right here.
Coach
Take us
Rangel.
into a day under Coach Rangel.
It's always exciting with Coach Rangel. You never know what we could be doing at practice. He keeps us on our toes.
Now, I want to ask you, because there's, the Bill Ford Tough Player of the Week obviously honors excellence on the field, but also off the field. I heard 1360 on the SAT. Is
Yes,
that
sir.
right?
Yes,
Is
sir.
that right? I imagine. Are you starting to get a little is your phone ringing a little bit? So you get some interest from some colleges?
A
now?
little bit, yes, sir.
Yeah, that's fantastic. What do you
Thank
want to
you.
What do you want to do? What's kind of the goal after high school?
After high school, of course, I want to go play college football, wherever that may be. I'm not 100% sure on what I want my major to be, but I will figure that out soon enough.
You listen, and on the field though, it's like you've been a 3-year starter. It feels like you've been there for 10 years, which is a great problem to have with a guy like
absolutely.
this. But I'm curious to know, how do you feel you've grown or changed since that very first snap?
I just feel like the experience that I've gone through has matured me on the field, and it's helped me become a better leader and a better player altogether.
How about for you, Coach? Have you seen him grow?
Yeah, it's been neat. So, you talk about a kid that we kind of rush into things. We had a really good quarterback that injured himself, and he's at Army right now, Jamel Jones Jr., and Mikey came in as a sophomore and kind of was thrown into it, but didn't really miss a stride. And so every single snap and every single game, you see him getting better and better and better. His progressions on reads and the way he's leading, and don't sleep on the way he runs. He can actually run the football good, and that's coming too. That's an evolution of, and he did some of that Friday night, but evolution of our offenses to get him in space and do some things with him running the football. But it's been a blessing having this guy on my team for 3 years. He's been really strong for us.
Mikey, you guys are 3-0, enjoying a bye week right now. What's the vibe around the program? What's the vibe in the locker room? I imagine, now you're going to enter a very tough district, but 3-0 is probably as good of a start as you can ask for.
Yes, sir. Me and one of my receivers, Miles Price, we wanted to have a team meeting the other day just to let everybody know that this isn't the time to back up just because it's a bye week or just because we're 3-0. It's time to go harder going into district.
And Coach, speaking of that district,
Pretty
brutal. Okay,
Yeah,
you got Frisco Lone Star in the mix. Frisco Independence is pretty scary. When you take a look at 5A Division I, what do you see?
Yeah, you don't want to look too far ahead because there's so many good football teams, and our district is really caught up. As far as all the teams being level and catching up, and young programs growing and really coming on strong. So we're just going to take a day at a time, knowing that there's some big games coming, but there's not going to be any big games or anything at all. We don't take care of play one against Centennial next Thursday. So that's our focus, is just slowing down. This week was about us taking care of things that we didn't do well Friday night in the first couple of games. And then as we start going through the season and things start getting fun and we start taking care of business, there'll be some big games coming. But we're going to slow down, enjoy, and stay present in what we're doing right now.
Listen, anytime I got this one on my side, I feel good about my chances.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know, Mikey, who you grew up watching and who you maybe model your game after.
I always say my two favorite quarterbacks are Brett Favre and Michael Vick. I don't play too much like Michael Vick, but, but he's an entertainer. He's an entertainer, and that's the way I like to play my game. Entertain people.
He has that confidence, right?
Yes,
that
sir.
quiet confidence. I like that.
Yeah, but Brett Favre, bit of a gunslinger. But, I mean, you went 33 for 38 last week. That's not that gunslinger mentality. That's a surgeon out there.
No, those have just always been my two favorite to watch and study.
Yeah, well, it's been awful fun to watch you. And so, Coach, I want to ask you, what's next for you guys? What's next for Mikey? What do you want to see in the next couple of weeks to see this team and your quarterback grow?
Yeah, no doubt. We want to just make sure that we've cleaned up. We did have some mistakes. The first half of that football game got away from us, and we wanted to make sure that we slowed down with video and techniques and making sure that things are just cleaner. And we'll take it a day at a time. I definitely think there's more out there for us as far as some running game stuff for Mikey. I think that there's also some other guys that we're going to get involved in. Defensively, we want to just make sure we're running the football and doing what we do. We play some really good defense. We're kind of a quieter team, just getting on the scene, but we've been playing some pretty good football for a while, and defense is where we've hung our hat for years, and want to keep doing that and running the football and having a good time doing it, party at the ball.
Well, listen, in the meantime, I know you guys are looking sharp. I'll tell you, whenever you both are done with this whole football thing, you might have a future in television if ever interested. How about that?
Hey, you know what? We'll see. Mikey probably
You can
yes.
take
He likes
our
to talk.
jobs. We'll go play on Friday nights. You can be in studio with Coach Purcell. How
There you
about
go.
that?
I wouldn't mind being with a cat in the hat. I like Coach Purcell now. He's one of my favorites.
Listen, he keeps his lunch money under there as well. A big thanks to Coach Rudy Rangel and our Class 5A Built for a Tough Player of the Week, Mikey Harrington. And congrats again, my friend.
Thank y'all.
Best of luck moving forward as we move forward here on the Built for a Tough Player of the Week show. Yes, we will get to 6A, 4A, 3A, and 2A when this party rolls on.
The Built for Tough Player of the Week show is brought to you by Ford. Visit your local Ford dealer. Ford is the best in Texas.
Hey fans, don't forget the Texas Ford dealers are looking for outstanding student athletes to be recognized as the Built for Tough Player of the Week. If you want your favorite player's name read on the air by Aaron Hardigan, nominate your gridiron hero at playeroftheweek.com.
Oh, good. We're still here. I thought maybe Rangel had already taken our jobs. Welcome back to the Built for a Tough Player of the Week show, where we now roll out our Class 2A Built for a Tough winner this week. And that's got to go to Kevin. What's his last name, Tep? Because you have nailed it in the break, my friend.
Kevin Covarrubias. I'm sorry, I'm surprised. It sounds exactly like it's spelled. The quarterback from El Dorado was nails last week in their big win over Brackettville. 517 yards and 8 touchdowns passing for the Eagles, and he was on fire in this one. The thing that impresses me most, though, Aaron, 29 of 41, okay? So he's completing more than 70% of his passes. He also added a touchdown on the ground, 9 total touchdowns in a romp over Brackettville. That's a good win for El Dorado for Coach Michael Johnson's team. And look, that raises his average now. He's already over 1,100 yards on the season passing. Covarrubias has been lights out for the Eagles so far. A big reason why I think they're a sleeper there in 2A for El Dorado. You may not know a ton about that program, but they look like they are on the rise. Big reason why Kevin Covarrubias.
He also has, you just love saying that over and over.
Covarrubias.
No, listen, Kevin is the best. He also connected with 8 different receivers, so he has plenty of weapons this year as well. Congrats to Kevin, our Class 2A Built for a Tough Player of the Week, as we roll along to Class 3A's Man of the Week, and that's got to be Colton Mills, senior linebacker Tep of West Rusk, New London, who in a 48-22 win over Harmony set a school record with 27, I'll say it again, 27 total tackles, 19 of them solo, while for good measure adding 4 tackles for loss.
You know what else I love? Playing both ways. Playing offensive line, too. We got a big hog molly on the Player of the Week show. 94, grading out 94% on the offensive line as well. But this kid was all over the field. Whenever you're setting a school record for tackles while playing both ways, you're doing something right there. Awful impressive there, and a very deserving winner of the Built for Tough Player of the Week in Week 3.
Colton Mills, your 3A Man of the Week. As we move along to Class 4A, your Built for Tough Player of the Week is Marquise Lawrence. This is a junior wideout out of Andrews that you got to know about, Tep, because 14 catches for 245 and only 5 touchdowns and a walloping victory over Levelland will earn you such honors.
Yeah, I mean, everything about this is kind of nuts. 14 catches, and he is getting free from single coverage with ease in this. Just a junior as well. This is the guy that Ralph Mason is pretty crazy about. We knew about quarterback Brett Leach, but this is the guy who I think is going to start making some waves here. 5'9", 150 pounds. Last year he caught 53 passes for 1,100 yards and 18 scores. And by the way, he's a guy who's getting a little bit of run on both sides of the ball as well as you do at 4A. So Marquise Lawrence is certainly a name to know out there in Andrews. That wide open offense out there in West Texas, there in the Panhandle, is pretty infectious. And what you're seeing there between Brett Leach and Marquise Lawrence is a pretty special connection. Watch out for Andrews. This is a Mustangs team that has a ton of firepower. It's going to be a problem for every team that they face.
You heard it here first from the managing editor of Dave Campbell's Texas Football Magazine. Also, Lawrence with 5 of his season total 7 touchdown passes in that game over Levelland. So congrats to him, our Class 4A Built for a Tough Player of the Week. Mikey Harrington was 5A, so we move along to 6A's winner, Eric Rodriguez, senior QB out of Fort Bend Travis, because we had to get another quarterback in, Tep, but he accounted for 506 yards in a big come-from-behind win over previously unbeaten Spring. And yes, that is deserving of 6A honors.
Fort Bend Travis kind of jumped onto the radar, if you remember, when they beat Richmond Foster a couple of weeks ago. And Eric Rodriguez has been sensational for Trey Sissom's squad. A guy that I think a lot of the attention gets paid to Parker Washington as outstanding wide receiver. But this guy was a 3,000-yard passer a year ago. And a guy who's got wheels to burn as well. 107 rushing yards and 2 scores. When you're putting up 7 total touchdowns, you're doing something right for the Tigers. Fort Bend Travis is always one of those schools that we think has talent down there in that Fort Bend area. It's a very talent-rich part of the state. Eric Rodriguez may be one of those guys that flies under the radar a little bit, but I guarantee you everybody on the schedule of the Tigers is trying to figure out how to stop Eric Rodriguez, and so far, nobody's been able to. A big reason why they are 3-0.
He is your Class 6A Built for Tough Player of the Week. As when we return here, we put a bow on this thing, as always, tough with games and players to watch, and one might surprise you. That's on the other side.
The Built for Tough Player of the Week show is brought to you by Ford. Visit your local Ford dealer. Ford is the best in Texas.
Hey, Ted, what do you say we roll out our Built for Tough Players of the Week we're keeping an eye on?
Yeah, so every year in El Paso, there is one dude that everybody talks about. This year it's Aaron Dumas, and it's probably going to be next year as well. Big game with Amarillo Tascosa next week. Frisco Independence quarterback Braylon Braxton was the district newcomer of the year last year. Kyle Story and the Knights are off to a 3-0 start, and Braxton's a big reason why. The other guy, keep an eye on Clay Edmiston, the safety from Cristobal. Big game this week against Cross Plains. I believe they could move to 4-0 with a win.
The surprise I teased before the break, we still have a job. Impressive was the adjective I was going for there. As we roll out our games, we'll be keeping a close eye on this week. You remember last year's Manville-Fort Bend Marshall meeting, don't you?
Yeah, that was when Devonna Chan went nuts and did a little bit of everything. Now they have Malik Hornsby. Remember, that was the game before he was ruled eligible. So that's going to be a slugfest there as a district opener. Martin and Rockwall is probably going to be pretty pointsy. And then at the very top, hey, how about a rematch of a state championship game? Malakoff will welcome in Grandview for a rematch of the 3A Division I state championship game. Remember, it was Grandview who beat Malakoff twice last year, including the one that counted at AT&T Stadium, the one that got Brad Davis a ring and a shower. This is a game that I'm really excited about. Grandview has kept on rolling, but you better believe that Malakoff wants to exact a little bit of revenge on the team that knocked him off twice last year.
Yeah, and if this wasn't enough for you, of the two of us, good news. We're on air for 3 hours each and every Friday night. It's called Football Friday, and it's here on Fox Sports Southwest. So look forward to seeing you then. In the meantime, congrats to Eric Rodriguez, Mikey Harrington, Marquise Lawrence, Colton Mills, and Kevin Hutup.
Covarrubias!
Preston Stone Jr., and all of our coaches, Rudy Rangel and Coach Nova from Dallas Parish Episcopal. We'll see you next week.